Have you ever driven a manual before? It's so much better than an automatic. Driving down a mountain road, all windy and curvy, downshifting, upshifting, just hearing your engine roar. Or maybe you drive in 24 Hours of Le Mans, a very famous race where in the old days, the only thing you could drive was an automatic. Now, my first point is driving a manual saves gas. A manual saves about 2 to 5 miles per gallon more than an automatic on city roads. On highways, it's a little bit lower by a couple miles per gallon, as automatics tend to have more gears nowadays. Second point is driving a manual saves money. About $1,200 to $1,500 in repairs is a huge difference when it comes to buying a new car. If you buy a new car, you have to think in about 100,000 miles, I'm going to have to repair something on the car. Or even oil changes. Oil changes are harder. And for an auto, it's about $3,000 in repairs when you have to go and replace parts in the transmission. If you want to buy a manual, it actually saves money by about $800 to $1,200 cheaper than an automatic. And you get just as much fun as an automatic. And another way that it saves money is the manual transmission is more mechanical than it is computerized. So mechanical things are easier to replace, which means they're cheaper than computerized. My third point is that they're safer. Many people don't know how to drive a manual. So think about people's cars getting stolen. A large number of stolen items are cars. And for people who don't know how to drive a manual, they tend to stick away from manual cars because they don't know how to drive it. They'll get in and you'll hear stories of people trying to steal them, and you'll get in the car and they won't know how to drive it. So they just go away, or they get caught by the cops trying to run away in a car they don't know how to drive. Also in the poor weather. In poor weather, you want to have as much control of your car as you can. And a manual allows you to do that more. When you're driving, an automatic will shift up for you when you're in cold weather such as snow. But in the manual, you get to choose what gear you're in. So if you're going up a hill in snow, you want to stick in the lower gears, where an automatic, it'll shift up if it needs to. You'll also have full control of the car. So if you're going around a corner or you're driving on a snowy road and you lose control, then you want to change your gears because it'll help tend to have more control of your car when you're slipping and sliding everywhere. My fourth point is that they're more practical in other countries than they are in the United States. In 2013, 3.9% of cars in the US were manuals. In Europe and Japan, 80% of cars were manuals. They're also more practical in traffic, as in the US, we've got states like California where the roads are really bad in populated cities. But in Europe and Japan, most of the roads are highways and they're 4 wide or 6 wide, and there's a lot more room to drive them, so you don't have to go as slow, pushing the clutch and gas in, trying to hurt your legs and have a really good workout. And 30 years ago, only 71% of all cars produced were automatics. So that means 29% were manuals. Nowadays, 96% of cars are automatic and 4% are manuals. My fifth point is performance. So as I said earlier, you have greater control, but also in a manual you have greater acceleration as you get to choose. The gearboxes are different because now the gearboxes usually get 1 through 6 in manuals, but they're starting to come out with new gearboxes in automatics that are 1 to 8 primarily, but they also make supercars that are 1 through 10. So it adds a wider range, which means when you have a lower gearbox, you have more acceleration through the lower gears. But when it comes to speed and acceleration and performance, the make and model primarily makes up what the specs are and how fast you actually go. It's not really transmission. So my sixth and final point are manuals better? Yes, in my opinion they do. I've driven a manual for years and it is so much more fun than an automatic. I have had a lot more fun than I have before. And the stolen cars, you have a way less chance of getting your car stolen. Manuals in the past have had more gears than automatics. Nowadays, it's different. You have less gears than automatics, but it's still more fun. And if you drive a manual, one of the best things is you can drive any car. There's nothing in between automatics and manuals. If you can drive manual, you can drive whatever you want. So in conclusion, I primarily choose manuals over automatics any day. So my call to action is I suggest that you guys go out and you try driving a manual for yourself.